All naturally cool human beings are predisposed to love speed. We worship cheetahs and microwave burritos and amphetamines, but even a cool guy like me, the speed metal loving righteous dude that I am, was not prepared for the stupefying, horrifying speed of Extratone. There have been a lot of requests in the history of This Exists. You ghouls have asked for everything from episodes about experimental music that demands that the audience be bulldozed, and episodes about audio drugs, and episodes about hillbilly beatboxing, but nothing in my life has been demanded more consistently than this. An episode about the least listenable music I have ever heard on the internet. Extratone, you freaks. I love you. For those of you looking for a quick definition so you can jump right to the comments and call me a shitheel for not posting for several months, I will save you minutes of gesturing, speechifying, and the occasional interruption from a borderline irrelevant but deeply satisfying Starship Troopers gif.
Welcome to the Roughneck.
Rico's Roughneck!
Or whatever Justin does this week, and let you know that Extratone is a form of electronic music where the BPM, or beats per minute, exceeds 1,000. And the kick drum becomes so fast that you can't really hear any separation, and it becomes an extra tone. Here's why this is wild and worthy of an episode. In 2010, two Rutgers grad students analyzed over 4,000 top 10 singles from the Billboard Hot 100, and they determined that the optimal tempo for a chart-topping hit was 119.8 BPM. So the BPM of Call Me Maybe, and Teenage Dream, and Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. You know, the three greatest songs of all time.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
The pop music sweet spot of 118 to 122 BPM covers just about every song you've ever heard on the radio. It's the BPM hit zone for everyone from the Beatles to Adele to Prince to Bon Jovi. It feels good to work out to, it feels good to sing along to, it feels good to dance to with your pals. 1,000 BPM does not feel good to dance to with your pals. Extratone is the fastest music in the world, but it didn't just appear on the internet one day for us to gawk at and you to needle me about in the comments. Released in 1993, Moby's 1000, named for its BPM, is sometimes credited as the first Extratone track. It's also sometimes credited as holding the Guinness World Record for fastest song ever, according to a lot of articles that are unsourced and unverified, and one Washington Post article that I found from 1993, so sure. I met Moby once. He was extremely chill.
You? Is that Moby?
How's it going?
Is it really?
Yeah, how are you?
He's killing it.
Nice to see you. Let's get high fives.
He's good. Yeah.
That was shot in Austin, Texas on St. Patrick's Day, so people were stoked. Perhaps if they were on their way to hear some Speedcore, it would have stoked them out even more than just high-fiving Moby.
Now, release your anger.
In 1993, the same year that Moby released 1000, producer Oliver Kierwall was also experimenting with amped up BPMs, most notably on the track Summer, which was a part of the seasonally influenced EP that he released under the name Sorcerer. While tracks like Winter and Spring were a little more standard issue hardcore techno, cue Spring. It was Summer that really keyed people up, hinting at the possibility of psychotically elevated BPMs. If you ask ahead, they might say that Sorcerer invented Speedcore, which usually clocks in around 250 BPM. If you you ask another head, they might tell you that New York's Disciples of Annihilation invented Speedcore. While their first single wasn't released until a year later in 1994, DOA were supremely dedicated solely to Speedcore. They literally named their 1997 album New York City Speedcore. Fucking New York City Speedcore! I'm biased because DOA sound way more metal and they share a name with the legendary Canadian punk band. But I think they deserve credit for going all in on a new genre when others were just futzing around and making novelty singles, not building their whole identity around this new sound. Let's face it, 1 or 2 tracks does not a new genre make. But Disciples of Annihilation were Speedcore, full stop. There is another stepping stone that gets us from normie techno to Extratone. Gabber. When techno migrated from Detroit to Europe in the late 1980s, it found a welcome home in the Netherlands, where hardcore techno was born. And while Amsterdam nurtured a nascent hardcore rave scene, Rotterdam wanted it weirder. They bumped the BPM up closer to 200, pioneered a series of astonishingly sick dance moves, and called it gabber. Unlike Speedcore, which was decidedly underground, gabber was legit mainstream Dutch culture in the 90s. There were TV documentaries and major festivals and crossover pop hits. Yes, that guy does look like a British skinhead, and that is because the gabber style combines old school hip hop vibes with a shaved head and Fred Perry gear. If you ask me, it is an extremely decent look. I totally get the appeal. The most popular video on this channel is all about music that wouldn't sound out of place at a gabber party. And when I was a teenager and I worked at Bandcamp, I once made this weird mix CD of all pop songs sped up twice as fast. I did this myself. For no reason. I also legitimately listen to this casually, so I am not judging. You double time Last Resort, you're looking at about 180 BPM. A slow gabber. But people aren't happy with how things are, and gabber and speedcore eventually gave way to splittercore, which tops out around 700 BPM. And before you know it, you're above 1,000 BPM. Revisiting our old friend from the start of this video, the reason we're all here, Extratone. There are no Extratone parties. It exists because it can. The outer limits of what computers are capable of, what humans can hear, what humans can dance to. That might be the one practical use for Extratone. Still, I am always happy to know that this stuff is out there. It's as if it exists just to make a point, like Napalm Death's 1 minute 36 second magnum opus, You Suffer. Or Rebel XD, the last person to hold the Guinness World Record for fastest rapper.
Coming to rock and taking a rapper, breaking them up when they become attacking them, taking them up on my side when they get them, taking them out when they taking them back, I'm giving hit them with my jump, look at the radical, then I'm the style, I'm putting back around when I'm making a rhyme, when I'm coming to get them and breaking them up, when it's becoming an enemy, telling incredible lyric, putting me open the cover, you're not be dumping around with the double story, holding my dollar, my title, I'm making a vital, and then I'm getting them on the side, I'm hanging them up when they becoming about me, that'll be dumb in the fact, I kind of be stupid as step.
They've actually paired him with the world's fastest stenographer for that demonstration. And I don't want to actually listen to it, but I think it's amazing that it's something that he can do. I'm fascinated by the limits of the human body. It's like mouth Extratone. I can't understand a goddamn thing that he's saying, but I know that speed is cool. And Extratone is extremely speed. And if A equals B and B equals C, then A also equals C. So this is extremely cool, even if it's just meaningless noise. What do you think? Are you and your pals kicking back on Friday night with Extratone remixes of your favorite gabber hits? Do you think there's a difference between scenes that evolve in real life, like gabber, and those that only evolve with technology and the internet, like Extratone? What is your favorite, fastest song? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for new episodes of This Exists. I know it has been a while, and I want to say thank you to everyone who reached out to me on Twitter, at a bar, at the X, to wonder when another episode was coming. I did not intend for the break to be this long, but it meant a lot to me to know that people wondered where it was. So here is an episode. They're not going to be weekly anymore, but I'm going to keep making them when stuff like this really fascinates me. Now, if you want to keep up with the show, you should go and like it on Facebook. There'll be a link in the description. I want to do a live Q&A thing to sort of explain what's happening, give you guys an opportunity to give me a bunch of grief, and then we can hug at the end like family that hasn't talked in too long. It'll be nice. Thanks so much for waiting around for me, and be excellent to each other.